Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Tonight, we're introducing Space Teams Academy. Tonight, you're going to see something that isn't just a STEM enrichment program. It's a mission design environment built on real space engineering tools. So here's how tonight's going to work. I'm going to ask a few framing questions to get an idea of what the program entails. Then Greg Chamitoff is going to walk us through the program, and then we're going to open for Q&A. We will ask you to hold audience questions until the end so we can get a clean recording of the core presentation. I'll just introduce myself. My name is Leah Chelly Doolittle. I'm the executive director of the Earthflight Foundation. We're a nonprofit dedicated to space advocacy, and we are supporting this program because it aligns directly with our mission of preparing the next generation of space leaders. And Greg is going to be walking you through the program itself. So with that in mind, let me just make sure that we have no one in the waiting room. All right. And we can get started. So first up, Greg, what inspired you to create Space Teams Academy?
Well, actually, I guess it's about 10 years ago now, maybe a little bit more. I was watching my kids playing Minecraft, and they were sitting at their computers at a table. They're twins, boy and a girl, and they had a friend somewhere else that was, also online with them, and they were busy comparing notes and discussing things. And I was just thinking, why can't NASA work like this? Why can't we do remote collaboration and do spacecraft design and also enable everybody to participate in designing our future in space? That was really the idea. So that it really came from watching my kids playing Minecraft.
That's great. Um, so when people hear space mission engineering, it can sound kind of intimidating. But what does that actually look like for a student?
So, I mean, I'm a professor at Texas A&M University, so I'm teaching engineering. I'm teaching space engineering, and this is at a higher level. And some of the classes, are completely irrelevant to what's going on in this program. But what we've done is we've kind of taken all the advanced math out of it and turned it into a completely visual 3D experience. And so even things like orbital mechanics, which I'll show you soon, which I teach at the senior level in college, we have middle school kids doing it because they're playing with it physically. There's stretching the orbits. They learn what the orbits have to do, and interact with it graphically and visually to make it work for the mission. And so we bring everything to a level where you can understand it conceptually and interact with it. And so they can actually do a lot of the engineering, conceptually without having to know all that advanced math. And then there's also just kind of an engineering process that students will learn over the process of getting some engineering background and kind of get them started on that. For example, there's like an iterative design process, where you think about how to do something, you see what you get, you think, oh, how would I make this better? How do I improve it? How do I make it do what I want it to do? And then you make changes to the design. And that design process, that thinking process, that critical thinking is, part of what we're after as they go through the program.
Oh, that sounds great. So tell me what makes this fundamentally different from other STEM programs.
Well, I think you'll see because
It's
it's
a good answer, right? You'll see.
because it's completely immersive, and the thing is, it's based on the that idea that came up so long ago watching my kids play Minecraft. It was not to make a STEM program. It was to make a real tool, a real engineering tool where people can contribute to what's happening in our future in space. And so we built. And I'll tell you, a little bit more about the team that built it, but we built this to be a real engineering tool. So we do work for NASA. We have grants from NASA. We have lots of commercial space companies that we're working with, and so this is to do real engineering work. And then we built the STEM program on top of it. So it's based on real physics, and it's completely immersive. It brings virtual reality, that technology, into the world of engineering. And it's really a new paradigm for how you do engineering. You do it, visually, graphically, as right as you're in it. And so that's a big difference. And the other thing is, I kind of like, I think about when I was inspired to do, everything I did. I saw a rocket launch. I saw the launch of Apollo 11 when I was a kid. I was there personally. It was the first time by chance. I didn't take a trip to Florida knowing that this was happening and planned the trip myself. I was 6, but I saw that launch and it changed my life. And I think about what kids, inspires them now. And one thing that we now can do is put them in an environment virtually, and they can look around and go, "Wow, this is what it would be like if I was standing on the South Pole of the moon. This is what it's like, and it's really what it would be like." And we can put them anywhere in the solar system, and you could be on Europa looking at Jupiter in the sky, and so being able to put yourself in those places and see, oh my God, this is the solar system. It's kind of like looking through. I know there's another program that Earthlight has been working so hard on, the astronomy program, and some of the inspiration there is when kids look through a telescope and they see the rings of Saturn for the first time, and they realize, oh my God, I'm actually looking at that thing right there. And when I look at it up close, the rings are around it. It's not a dot on the sky; it's a planet. It's the same kind of feeling. I think that we I think we can get from this kind of program is putting them in space, in those environments, and make it very real.
Yeah, I remember when you told me about this project, and I had this kind of light bulb moment where I said, "This is like a digital twin of the solar system that you can
Right.
manipulate, right?" And
That's exactly what it is.
that
That's
it's
right.
exactly what it is a digital twin of the solar system
Yeah.
for you to learn in. So
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you for kind of setting that up for us. I think that was really helpful. And so I think at this point I would ask you to share your screen. I think you put together some slides that you want to share with everybody.
Sure. Hold on a second. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, we sure can.
Okay. Great. Well, first, let me just say, really excited. Hold on, let me see if this is working properly. This may not be working. Hold on, it's not working. Let me do that again. Okay. Do you see that now?
Yep,
Yep.
it looks great.
It looks great. Okay. Uh, so yeah, first let me just say I'm very excited and grateful to be doing this with Earthlight and with you. We're very excited to bring this to everybody as in this partnership. The first thing that I have is a quick video that kind of highlights everything, because then it'll be more obvious what we're talking about. So it's just a few minutes. Let me play that, and let me make sure that you hear the audio when I do. So here we go.
Exploration has always been at the forefront of human inspiration.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Space exploration motivates us towards a prosperous future for all of humanity.
And liftoff for the final launch of Endeavour, expanding our knowledge, expanding our lives in space.
It drives us to make advancements in technology and science. Access to our future in space has never been closer. Now, with improvements in simulation technology and virtual reality, you can directly participate in creating our future. This is Space Teams Academy.
Growing up, I would always gaze at the stars.
The idea of experiencing the process of an astronaut traveling to other planets is incredible to me.
Space exploration is becoming more important than ever.
Hello, my name is Greg Chamitoff, and this was my incredible home for more than half of a year, orbiting far above the Earth. We would like to invite you to become part of the next generation of space explorers.
Thanks to creator Dr. Greg Chamitoff, Space Teams Academy allows students to collaborate on aerospace systems and mission design using high-fidelity models based on real NASA data. Students design working spaceships, create habitats and other worlds, and personally experience what it's like to explore beyond Earth. Space Teams is not a game, but an engineering design platform used by industry based on actual space systems, integrated into a virtual design and simulation platform.
We got to change like the density of the planet, what's in the atmosphere of the planet, what the planet's kind of made of.
Space Teams Academy is a NASA-supported STEM program that allows you to create, collaborate, and compete within classroom environments to accelerate learning in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Join Space Teams Academy. We need you.
Get ready to take your place among the stars. Space Teams Academy.
Okay, hopefully you could hear and see that okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. So I just want to highlight, some of the folks that are involved in this. So these are some of the leads. So this was developed at Texas A&M University, where I'm a professor now after retiring from NASA. And our company that's a kind of a spin-off from that is Sim Dynamics. And so some of these folks are former students. They now work for Sim Dynamics. Some work for NASA, and some are current students, graduate students, and undergraduates. But this is not the whole team. We have every semester about 60 students working on this, and we've been doing this for almost 10 years. So there's literally hundreds and hundreds, about 800 student projects that have contributed to this, and these are the leads of various teams that have participated. And some of them are helping to run the program, when we run the STEM program. And built the STEM program on top of the platform. What we're talking about now is a program that we're very excited to start. It starts on March 4th. It's going to be weekly. It's going to be like an after-school club. It'll be a 1-hour webcast, and it'll have several things happen during that, and then the students will have the whole week to do that activity that we were talking about, and come back and move on the week after. So it's really flexible. We've been running this for 5 years. World Space Week, we run it as a week-long program, and we've had students from all over the world, I think 20 countries and thousands of students, and so it's really evolved a lot. It's really mature now, and the thing is, when we run it that way, either you're available to do it or you're not. We also run it in schools with teachers, and we've had a NASA grant for over $1 million for 3 years to get it into all kinds of schools, especially underprivileged schools, with a stipend for the teacher and some free computer hardware. And we help the teachers customize it exactly the way they want, support their program, run it in their class on their own schedule. And we've also run it as a club where students would come together. Some people would be there, running it with them, be there locally. It can be remote, or it could be, a group together. That's all those options work. And we've been running dozens of those in different countries, where it's a week long or 4 or 6 days, and students come together. So this is different now. We're trying something new because we think it's going to be a lot better and much more accessible, and give people time to do it on their own schedule and make it easier to join and fit into their schedule. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what level 1 here is now. So there's 2 levels, basically. Actually, there's a 3rd level, which is university competitions. But we're talking today about level 1, which is for middle and high school students. And I'll say a little bit about level 2 as well. But essentially, every week we'll meet for about an hour. There'll be a webcast. There'll be expert speakers. And I'll show you kind of a little bit about the schedule of that. And those are all on these different topics that we're trying to cover, which really run the gamut of everything involved in space missions. There's only a few things that I can think of that we're not going into, and probably for good reason. And and then there's lessons on those topics that we have for the students to do, and quizzes and tutorials. And those take, not very long, 30 to 40 minutes for each of those lessons. And and that helps them also know what to do when they start doing the design activity. And the design activity, they do that together collaboratively. They could do it on their own. They could be remote. They could collaborate remotely, or they could sit right next to each other. And they're doing this design activity, which you'll see in a minute. And they go through that whole process for 6 major activities, and then we have altogether 12 activities when we count these immersive. There's some immersive mini simulations, which is the last item here. They're like space experiences with that, where they actually have to do some task. They're on a mission and they're doing something, and I'll kind of explain those too.
So, Greg, before you move on, if I can,
sure.
I just want to clarify. So, level 1 is accessible to middle and high school students, and then level 2 is more advanced high school level, right?
Right. So it's the next thing, right? So if you've done level 1, you're ready for level 2. But if you're, already in university and you want to like do really more advanced work and do work that'll lead towards skills that are, that would be job related workforce skills in modeling and simulation and engineering. Level 2 is using the professional tool instead of the STEM part of it. But high school students at the junior senior level who are doing things like FIRST Robotics, those kind of clubs, they would be able to do level 2. So we think of that as, hey, once you've done level 1, you're ready for level 2 if you're, far enough along in your education. And I'll point out more later, but I'll just really quickly say, so in level 2, there's workshops to teach them how to do things with the engineering software that are totally general. Like level 1, you're following a certain mission, which I'll describe. And level 2, you can build anything. You can really create any mission. That's what we're using for our real, engineering, design and modeling, and concept development and analysis for real space missions. And then at the end of level 2, they'll do something that's also a competition. And we've been running competitions at the university level now for a few years also. And okay, so here's level 1. And so this is what we're doing starting March 4th, once a week. These are kind of 12 sessions that we're gonna do. And just you can get a sense of the topics here. And it really runs the gamut of everything that is involved in a space mission. The ones that are in black text, these are the design components of the activities. The other ones are weeks where we expect to have an expert speaker and also do a VR experience mini mission that's related to the topic. So, for example, rendezvous and docking, we'll have an expert talking about things related to that, and then they will do a simulation. They'll just jump in and do it. They don't have to design anything. They just jump in and experience it. And I'll show you a few examples of that. But kind of running through the topics, rendezvous and docking, orbital mechanics, remote sensing, deep space missions, space robotics. These are all the things that are part of a mission. And the mission that they're doing is, just to give you like the big picture here, there's a rogue planet passing through the solar system, and we have a rogue object passing through right now. So this is a real thing, and they're going to try to visit this rogue planet, and they're trying to get there. Their ship has to be able to get them there and keep them alive for the duration of the mission. So as they're designing their ship, it has to be able to accomplish that. And I'll show you the activities that they have to do to conduct that whole mission. And all these things kind of relate to that.
So they're actively designing and building every week. They're not just watching a webcast.
Right. That's right. Okay. Yeah. So these are the major design activities. The first one is really more of a science activity when they first getting familiar with the program. This is a really cool thing in that it's basically, how does a planet behave? When you change certain parameters about its size and shape and composition and the sun that it's orbiting, how far away it is, and the physics is all in there. So the planet will come out the way it should essentially for the situation. And you can try changing a lot of things about it, and then you can go explore it. And so it's really fun. The students show us pictures of the places on their planet that are amazing, and then we actually have a prize for like the coolest planet as part of this. And there's a video I'll show you after this that'll kind of show things in motion, and you'll get a sense of these things. Then you have to design their spacecraft for this mission. It has to work, like I said. It has to be able to actually get them there. And they go through an AI kind of analysis automatically of of their ship. It tells them, hey, you're going to run out of fuel, or you're going to run out of oxygen. You got to fix that. And so they have to go in and make those changes and keep improving, their design. This is all competitive. So they're on a team. They could be on their own, or they could be with a team, and they get a score. And there's a leaderboard. And so it's the students really get into it because they're constantly trying to figure out how someone else got a higher score on something and make their design even better. And part of that engineering design process too is you could, for example, you build a habitat on this planet once you get there, but maybe you needed an extra greenhouse that you didn't bring. So then you have to go back and redesign your ship to be able to carry that. And a lot of things might have to change. So it's an iterative thing. You can always go back and do better. They figure out the orbits to get there. Then they scan their planet to figure out where they should land. They learn the difference between flying a spacecraft and something inside an atmosphere and that transition. We usually bring in a pilot astronaut to talk about exactly how that works. And they have to land successfully. And ultimately, they're looking for resources. The ultimate goal is sustainability. They want to be able to live as long as they can on this planet they're exploring. And their goal is to find the resources between what they bring and what they can find and process to get the maximum sustainability. If you can manage to stay there forever, well, that's the highest score you can get. So that's kind of the sequence. And I'm going to show you a quick video that'll run through this. So I'll just show that, and that might explain the rest of this better than I can do with these pictures here.
In the Planet Builder activity, you will learn about the formation and properties of solar systems, including the characteristics and physics of stars, planets, moons, and asteroids. By adjusting certain properties, you'll be able to explore the nature of exoplanets beyond our own solar system. In the spacecraft design activity, you will learn about spacecraft systems and then apply your knowledge designing your own interplanetary spacecraft to travel to an alien planet. Next, it's all about the motion of the planets and spaceship maneuvers. You will learn about orbital mechanics and how to design your own interplanetary trajectory. After that, you'll get to fly your spacecraft just like a real astronaut pilot. You will learn about propulsion, aerodynamics, and then fly your spacecraft to a safe landing on another planet. Once on the surface, you'll even get to design and build a space habitat that can support human life. But just making it to the planet is not enough. You have to be able to survive. After learning about robots and the basics of surface exploration, you will explore the region around your habitat to identify resources critical to long-term survival and sustainability.
Right. So that kind of gives you a picture of what they're doing over that sequence of the design activities. And then the other part of this I mentioned, that we were adding to it that essentially makes it a 12-week program, including special guest speakers, is these mini mission elements that come in. So the first one here is Solar System Explorer. That kind of relates to what I said earlier, in that you can literally go anywhere in the solar system and see what it would be like there at a certain time, on a certain day. The shadows will be correct, the lighting will be correct, and the geometry. If we know something about the surface there, the models are in there. And we're using that. In fact, NASA's using our version of this to do their vision-based navigation systems for lunar landing. Like right now, they just bought a copy of our professional version so they can use it for vision-based navigation, machine learning programming. So it's that accurate. And this is a rendezvous and docking simulation. This is the Orion docking to the Gateway space station. So this is something that hasn't happened yet, but hopefully in the next few years. But we have the full models in here. You fly this from inside the Orion capsule, and everything in here is correct. We actually fly this in my lab at Texas A&M in a spherical moving simulator. So we actually have all the right controls and displays and everything. They're in the simulation. So you actually learn the right way to do this, the way it actually works, and learn how to fly a rendezvous. This is robotics, where you're teleoperating a robotic arm. You'll see a video of that in a second, so I won't say more right now. Landing on the moon. This is the Starship from SpaceX landing on the moon. That's also something we can fly in our motion simulator, and they'll be able to fly that. And this is a rover operating on the surface of Mars, and I'm going to show you a video on that too. The other one is spacewalking, going out and fixing something. All of these are like little missions. They relate to the overall big picture of conducting a large-scale space mission, different parts of it. But these are not design activities. These are things they actually, go and do virtually. And they don't have to have VR to do this. They could run these on their computer screen. They could do it with an Xbox controller. So that's an option too if they don't have the hardware for that. This is actually not in the simulator. This last picture, that's me during a spacewalk, and my crewmate Mike Fink there is reflected in the visor. He took this picture. I put that in because in the simulator, you're looking at what you're seeing out the helmet and your hands, and you're close to structure. So you can't. If I showed you a picture of that in here, it wouldn't make any sense. So I just drew that in there for fun. So I'm going to just show you a couple of these really quickly so you get a sense of it. This is the Gateway space station. It's supposed to be around the moon, but we put it over Mars because it's cool when it's over Mars. And there's a visiting vehicle coming in, a robotic arm here, and you're trying to fly the robotic arm to grapple the visiting vehicle and pull it in. Everything about this is correct. That robotic arm operation is exactly the way you really do it. I flew in that arm many times in space, and the shuttle one and the Japanese one, and the modes and the controls and all the interfaces were doing it exactly right, and we're showing them how they would do it if they were doing it in space. I'll just run this really quickly so you see what it looks like.
In the robotic operations sim, you will be situated inside the Gateway space station, orbiting the Martian surface. Your goal will be to move a robotic arm into position for grappling a neighboring vehicle. As with the Orion docking sim, you will be using transitional and rotational hand controllers. The THC on the left can be used to manipulate the position of the end effector, while the RHC on the right is used to change the effector's rotation, and ultimately align it with the target point. In addition to looking through the cupola's windows, you can make use of the camera situated on the end of the effector to help line up your final approach to the grapple target. As soon as the arm locks into place and the controls stop moving it, you have gotten close enough to the target for a successful grapple. Take your time and good luck.
So, for example, on the day that they're going to be doing this, or the week that we talk about it, we'll talk about space robotics, all about it, and then we'll also talk about this activity and how they do it and how they use the controls and displays and everything, and then they can go play with it for as much as they want. All right, so I'm going to show you one more just as an example. It's one of the other ones that I had in that picture with all of them. So this is driving the rover on Mars, and I'll just play this and talk about it while I'm playing it. But this is going to fly in from orbit all the way to the surface of Mars, so you can see, the fidelity of the terrain. It's correct terrain all the way down to this crater called Kaiser Crater, and you're basically exploring this crater. We want them to drive around and sample the core in a few special places, take samples. So it's a science mission, but they have to avoid, flipping over, when they're driving on the terrain. And also, it could be at night, and it could be in a Martian dust storm, and so it can be challenging. We actually have used this for a university level competition for programming this to be fully autonomous, and that we just finished that in November. We had 65 teams around the world that participated in that, and the winners were actually 4 of the winning teams were in Bangladesh. 4 of the 6 winning teams were in Bangladesh, which is really amazing.
So, Greg,
So
I
you
just
just
want to ask really quick. So there's no prior coding experience or any experience needed for either of the levels,
no,
right, to get into this?
no,
Okay.
no, that's right. Yeah. So in the level two, which will run probably in the fall, part of that, as you'll see in a minute, like, you eventually we're teaching them how to do some programming, right? But all of it can be done, certainly at level one, it's all just, we have seventh graders, sixth graders doing it. So it's definitely doable by everybody, and they're not programming, right? So this just gives you a little sense of what it looks like.
Um, I have one question. Can I ask?
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't
Let's
mind if
come
we
back.
hold the questions till the end, and then we'll kind of answer them all together, okay?
Yeah, and I'm almost done, so that won't take very long. So just quickly, high level, level two, high school or university level, which is not what we're talking about coming up starting March 4th. But just to give you a sense, it's like workforce development for space, for space engineers. Uh, they learn about how to use the real software to do the real engineering. How would you organize a space mission? What models, what systems do you need? And they can use a CAD system like Blender, SolidWorks to build their own models or import models. I like to joke around. They can go online, download the Death Star, put it in orbit around Mars, and blow up Mars if they want. That could be their first thing that they do. Maybe not the best idea, but uh, but they'll learn about how to put together an orbital mission or a surface mission. A lot of the things that are involved in space flight are sensors and actuators. In other words, we have cameras and sensors, and those gather data that then need to be looked at by a computer to decide how the robot should behave, or how the mission should proceed. And actuators are things like thrusters and robotic arms and things like that. And at some point, these things can get complicated. Like, for example, a robot on the moon might have an antenna that needs to point to a satellite, which is moving. So how do you point that? How do you make sure that antenna tracks the satellite? Those kind of things. We'll eventually get to some stuff like that, which is not hard to do. It's just, you have to do a little work. And they'll learn how to do that. Then we get into programming where they can actually, make things behave exactly the way they want or the way they should. And of course, humans can be in the loop. This whole thing is fully VR capable. People can be. You and I can get into a simulation together. You could be where you are. We could both put on a VR headset and walk out the door on Mars together and walk and talk and look around. It's possible to make sims like that, and we'll eventually learn how to do that at this level. And there's other engineering tools that eventually they might want to connect it to. So that's where this all goes, at the next level. And I just want to end with this. So what are the main benefits of this? And maybe this comes to your question at the beginning, which is what makes this program different. And so the first thing is just, there's a realistic engineering design process here. And the STEM program is, at a level where we give them all the models. We give them like pieces of the space station, basically, or a spaceship, and they put them together. But the models behave the way they should. So, for example, you need to make oxygen, right? If you put in an oxygen generator, it's going to use power, it's going to use water, and it's going to make oxygen. Well, how much oxygen it makes will depend on how much power, the power will be connected to how much oxygen it makes. That kind of stuff is in there. So when their ship is analyzed, it'll either work or it won't, for the mission. So those are all realistic trade-offs, but all they have to do is grab an oxygen generator and put it in, right? And then see what happens. But realistic engineering design process, the lessons cover all these topics, all these aspects of space flight. So you can see a comprehensive list of the things involved in space flight. As you know, it's a real software, so things are correct in here. So they have the experience of working, maybe more related to this point. They can immerse themselves in a very realistic situation, in a off-world place, and that I think is that's inspiring. We've had a lot of work done to evaluate the impact of this. We have multiple papers on it. The NASA grant was a study. with aiming at 10,000 students ultimately, which is we're almost at the end of that. So there's publications on the efficacy of the program, the STEM identity, and STEM engagement. And it's all very positive. I don't have the results here, but if you go to the website, you can go see the papers. And if you're interested in seeing, the actual study results. It's certified. This is a certification level that matters to schools, and it's certified at the level 4. And if you go to the website, you can see a bunch of testimonials. And the final thing is just, we've tried to make this really accessible. And one of the coolest things that's recent is we're using virtual machines. So my computer in front of me is capable of running this thing really well. Not everybody's computer can do that. And if you want to do some of these things, you need a good computer. But now it's available on a virtual machine. So if you have a Chromebook and an internet connection, you can do the program now, which means all of a sudden we are able to do this for schools in Africa and all over the place, and students everywhere that have, if they've got a computer, they can do it. Just a caveat on that. The VR activities do need a good computer. So most likely, people would find or borrow a computer to do the virtual activities, and or do them on the computer screen if they don't have the VR hardware. And kind of talked about this, but the big idea here is turning these complex topics into something that's accessible to younger students. And part of that too is having a little bit older students be the ones to teach them. Students who are, my students who are undergraduate students who are a few years older. A lot of them are the teachers and explainers, of the activities. And then it's also accessible in different ways. So, whether it's a teacher using it in the class or a camp that we're running for multiple days where it's on a site and there's people there, working with the kids, or it's an online club, after school club, like a robotics club, or someone by themselves, totally virtually at home, self-guided. All those are accessible ways that this can be done.
So, Greg, I just have a question. You've got the impact here from like the science side, right, and for the certifications, but just kind of emotionally, what kind of transformation do you see in students over the 12 weeks of the program? It's got to be great, and I think for the parents and the educators that might be tuning in, that would be helpful.
Yeah, it really is great. We've been saying, so part of the program is for the students to like upload a daily reflection on what they did, and so we've just, what we get to see eventually. We can't see it in person with everybody, but we get to see a snapshot of those who share it with us, their excitement about what they're doing in a video or something like that. And the teams make a team video, and we usually have a prize for the best team video and team patch. And then the students, share their thoughts during those videos, and it's just amazing to see how excited they are and what they learned and what they got out of it. And so we've seen a ton of enthusiasm, and also throughout this, they're submitting things like, for example, I think you're looking at a picture in the upper left here of somebody's. These are planet submissions. These are pictures that they took of their planet from some place they explored on it, and they sent it to us, with a description of how they made their planet and where it is, what kind of atmosphere it has, and whatever. And so they send us the ships they build and the habitats they build, and we share them with everybody during the webcasts. And so it's very interactive, and the students are chatting, during the webcasts, and so we get to see a lot of comments, and we do have a ton of testimonial feedback. There's a little bit of on the website, if and we can provide more if somebody wanted to see it. So I think so I think that's what I had basically. It's kind of a pretty good tour, I think. And again, thank you all for coming. And if you weren't here live and you're watching this later, thank you for watching this. And hopefully we'll see you during the program starting in March.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Greg. So I think that gave everyone a really solid overview of the program itself. So if we can shift into Q&A, We do have some questions that came through in the chat that I'm going to run through, and then I do have a couple of questions I might hit if we don't get the answers other ways. So the first question was from Jessica, and it was about homeschool students. Will they be able to participate, and would they be engaged with other students as well? And related to that, are the sessions recorded in case you can't make a particular day or in the 12 weeks?
Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention that. Yes, everything's recorded. We're trying to make this available to people worldwide. So the time zones don't matter. They don't have to watch it live. Everything's recorded, right? And yeah, absolutely. For homeschool, you can do it on your own, but we're going to encourage people to be on teams. So part of that initial sign up process will, you make a team. A lot of times, if students are working on their own, they'll go into the chat and they'll say, "Hey, I need to be on a team. Does anybody want to join me?" And so there's a lot of shifting around of student teams a lot at the beginning, but yeah, definitely homeschool kids can do it, no problem. Yeah.
Great. So I have another question from Chris. What kind of support is available? She coaches a FIRST robotics team, and they usually have weekly support calls during the competition period.
Yeah, so we have an online support team. We're there, right after the webcast. We're going to be directly available. So if people are doing it right then, because I think the tendency will be to do the webcast and then jump right into it, and then people will, tail off depending on what other things they have on their schedule. So that'll be the most active time for support, for live support. But otherwise, there's an online support that for a ticket system that to get any help with anything. So,
great.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see what else. As far as registration, registration would just go straight through the space-teams.com website, right?
Right. In fact, I could just bring that up. Let's see. Yeah, so if you go to space-teams.com, you can just sign up right there. This is just the first page, the home page of the website. And if you do, you'll be taken to this page here. This dashboard page, once you're signed up, basically put in some information and so on, and then get signed up. Once you're signed up, let me see. I've got another page here. So it kind of looks like this. There's like a dashboard where they can see the leaderboard and they can see all the activities they have to do. Here's a larger leaderboard. We're just testing it right now for the program coming up. And here's where they can chat and download the software, or they can run the virtual machine here. And then there's all the information learning pages there's videos here and documentation for how to do everything. So that's what you see once you've made an account.
Okay. We do have a couple of technical questions, Greg, but I do just want to make sure I hit on a couple of points before we get to those. So beyond the March cohort, what are the other different ways that the program can run?
Yeah, so for example, there's a big group in India that wants to start this in April or May, so we'll be starting another one in April or May for them. We can start it at any time. We can start a program for a country or a school district or a museum or a club. And also it can be done in a week. Like I said, there's organizations we work with that just run it as a camp. So for example, there'll be 4 days in a week for a camp, and all the students will come to one place and they'll do it, and we'll be online supporting. I'll come on and talk if you want me to, say hello to everybody, and otherwise my team is in the background knowing that you're running it, live at a certain time. We'll be online ready to answer questions and stuff like that. So those are all different ways that it can be run, and a teacher can do it for their classroom, in their classroom. It's customizable. It's harder for me to show you that directly, but a teacher can pick and choose whether they want to show that lesson or not, maybe play it for the class or have them watch it themselves, take the quiz or not, which activities they want them to. So a teacher can customize a selection of the activities and then run it themselves, and we can support that as well.
Okay. So here on to some of the technical questions. Does the program need or use VR headsets at all?
does not require VR headsets to do the program. So so if you could do it on a virtual machine for the design activities. If you want to do on the days that we have, these mini missions, those are in VR. If you have a VR headset, that's best. But you can also just do it on your screen. You can have an Xbox controller or use the keyboard to do those activities. You don't have to have a VR headset to do them, but you do have to have a good computer to run those. So if somebody really can't get their hands on a good computer at all ever, they might not be able to run those things, or not all of them. They may have, but they still would be a guest speaker on those days, and we're still teaching the material in those days. So it is possible that somebody can't get a good enough computer or a VR headset to do some of those mini missions, but everything else is accessible to anybody.
And what about the Wi-Fi requirements as far as needing a live connection?
Yeah, you have to have an internet connection. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
So you can't download them offline and do the lessons that way. You've got to have a somewhat stable internet connection to be able to do it.
The VR experiences, the mini missions, you can download them and just run them locally. You can.
Okay.
But the competition itself, the design activities, those are interactive online. So you do need an internet connection, but it doesn't have to be particularly fast. Yeah.
All right. And then this is way outside of my lane. But we have a question about whether these models are workable with Unreal Engine and Runo 3D. I assume those are familiar to you, Greg?
So everything is running in Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is what you're looking at when you're seeing everything that we do. All the models are built, and they're all processed through Blender. But we can take any model from anywhere, run it through Blender, and then import it into Space Teams. But that is a more advanced thing. The students wouldn't be doing that at level 1. Level 1, it's like more like Lego. But they're cool spacecraft parts that behave the way they're supposed to, but they're pre-built, and you're choosing how to use them and assemble them for the mission. But at level 2, you can literally build any model you want with any CAD system, bring it in, and you don't have to use. You can use SolidWorks, you could use Blender, you could use anything. It's the file formats can be processed and then imported directly into Space Teams. And the output you're looking at is in Unreal.
Okay. Let's see. So we've got a few questions in here. One, this is a quick one. If you've participated in Space Teams before, can you participate again?
There wouldn't be a reason to do that. You may as well go to level 2.
Okay.
But people have anyway. and they're helping another team. A lot of times there was someone who did it, and they became like an advisor for the next class of students at a school and helped them, and act like a local mentor. So I would say that's the better thing for someone to do, is be a mentor for a team at your school.
Yeah. And we did have a couple of questions about the technical specs. So folks, I am going to copy and paste that into the chat again, as far as the basic specs. Greg, I'm going to read these off, and if there's anything that isn't listed, could you just expand on that? A lot of interest in making sure that we know what we need for connectivity. So the VR headset is optional, right? But if there's a particular model that would be helpful, that would be great. But we have
the Quest 3 would be the best one to have, which is the most common one.
Okay.
But it'll work with other ones too.
So we've got a CPU with at least 4 cores, 2.7 gigahertz, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 15 gigabytes available on the hard drive, at least Windows 10 and Mac OS with parallels, and then GPU recommended. And then if you have specification issues, the support team can work through any of the access issues with virtual machine access, right?
So all of that is if you're using your own computer to run the program. If you want to use the virtual machine, you don't need any of that. You need an internet connection and a browser.
Oh, okay.
So that's if you want to run everything locally. But you would need that for the mini mission VR activities. So yeah, It's for the design part of it, you don't need that.
Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. So I think let's talk briefly about the investment for the March cohort. Just making sure that we understand how we can register and what the pricing looks like, right? If this is per student, if there's teams, sponsorship opportunities, making sure that people know how they can get signed up and how they can participate.
Right. So it's 150 per student, but Earthlight is sponsoring a discount for that. So you put in there'll be a code when you register. If you type in Earthlight, capital E, capital L, that code will give you a 15% discount. So it'll be closer to 125. And if there's a group of 10 or more students, there'll be another 15% discount on top of that.
Great. And I did just copy that into the chat. For anyone who's attending this event live, I will send a follow-up email with that code as well. Okay, let me see if we have so we did have a few other questions here. So as far as the timing of the sessions and the day of the week, what is the actual participation look like? As far as how many hours a week are you going to be on the internet and the time commitment for the week?
So it's just 1 hour. So it's like an after school thing. And at least it'll be 7 p.m. East Coast, so 4 p.m. West Coast, United States. So that'll be the time we're running live on Wednesdays. So we're central time, so it'll be 6 p.m. here. And so you can convert that to wherever you are in the world. And that'll be just 1 hour. And you can watch it anytime. It'll be recorded, so you can watch it anytime. And otherwise, like I said before, like the lesson and tutorials take maybe a half an hour each to watch, and then the activity could be an hour or more, depending on how hard you want to work at getting a good score and putting yourself on the top of the leaderboard. So I suspect we'll have some teams that spend a lot of time making sure they get the best possible scores.
I'm sure it's designed to be competitive. So you had mentioned the individual prices. Is there a different price if you have a team? I think you had mentioned something about more than 10 students. There might be a different pricing or any potential scholarships and discounts.
Yeah, another 15% is for 10 or more.
Okay.
Yes, and so sponsorships is that's one way that this has worked for many schools is somebody locally or a company wanted to sponsor a team and or some kind of grant for a school or group of students. So that's been a common way for certain schools to do it.
Okay. And then the one question that I hadn't gotten to yet is after space teams, is there placement support or opportunities to present at conferences or publishing research papers? I will say that for our part, Earthlight Foundation does do an annual conference, and we have discussed with Greg having the winners of the cohort be invited to come to our conference in Houston in December to present. So I think we might have other things in mind as well, Greg. But
yes, that would be great. So the winners of this competition, that would be great for them to come to Earthlight, to come to the New Worlds Conference and be awarded. That would be fantastic. Yes, I should mention. So the competitions we run at the higher level. So after this, level 1, level 2, or those are sponsored by NASA Space Grant, and so NASA Space Grant has a design conference, and those so there's cash prizes for those winners, and there's awards and award ceremony that'll be at the NASA Space Grant design competitions, and that the next one will be well, it wouldn't be the next one because it'll happen in the middle of our program here, but yes, there's even at that level, there's an opportunity to present and also have a poster to talk about what they've done, possible publication if they did something really amazing, but certainly to get prizes awarded at the design competition. It's called NASA Space Grant.
Okay. So we did have some questions about how to register. Once folks have gone into the sign up, and I think it's the request info, is there going to be a follow-up email to actually register the individual students? Just making sure that we understand the registration process.
Yeah, when they go in, it's pretty automatic. It'll just start asking you for, the name of the participant and some basic information. And then if they're under a certain age, at some point, it's going to ask them for the parent's name and email to get parental approval. So there's some privacy stuff for students that, we take very seriously. And so the parent would have to approve. But it's just an automatic thing. They just put in some basic information and then they'll get to a payment page. And, and then if they put in the Earthlight code, then they'll get the reduced price. And then they're in. And then once they're in, they sign up for this particular competition. It'll lead them to say, you're not in a competition yet. Pick one. The one that's available will be the one we're doing next. And then they can start forming teams and getting on the chat and everything. And once they're there, there's all kinds of documentation and videos to help them know what to do next. And they will get emails from us too. Yes.
Sure. We do have some folks that are trying. If we're having issues with the act completing the sign up process, is support at spaceteamsacademy.com the email to follow up and get through that. I say I am not the support team.
No, yes, right. You're
let's see. So support at spaceteamsacademy.com, and I put that on here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Here's the. I think I've had it. You see my screen right now?
Yes. There it is. Okay, great.
There it is. Yeah. Should have left this up.
So I just a couple quick questions, and then we are at the top of the hour. I thank everybody for coming. I'm just going to try and get these through to you quickly, Greg. And again, if you have any questions that we didn't get to or you want to follow up, you can email support at spaceteamsacademy.com, or I'm going to put our generic email for Earthlight, and I can also relay those questions to the team. So we had a question about the Academy license, if that's a different program versus the individual or the teams.
No, that's nothing different.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Do you accept PayPal? Is that a payment method?
Yeah, we can make it work. Just if you want to do it a different way, just write us at support at spaceteamsacademy.com.
Okay. And then just as as far as grants, sponsorships, or maybe discounts for students from developing countries, I understand that I don't think there's a set program for that, but that's the sort of thing if folks want to reach out to support at spaceteamsacademy.com, that your team can work with them on their individual situation. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's great. Yeah, that's exactly right. So we can work with different countries and put together a program for them, and the pricing just has to be different to be able to make it work. But with larger scale, if there's enough students, we can work with them to make it work. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, folks, we are at the top of the hour. I just want to respect everyone's time. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, this is going to be recorded. We'll be sharing it. I think Space Teams Academy has a YouTube page. If they don't, they're going to go create one so we can upload this to share it if you'd like to review it again or share it with anyone. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop the recording, but I am going to leave this meeting open for a few minutes if you want to copy any of the information out of the chat for those emails to connect and get any additional information. So with that, I'm about to hit stop on the recording. So everybody, you don't have to behave after this, and have a good night. Thank you.